romance.
Well, the Prime Minister is back at the Garma Festival this weekend. It's one of Australia's largest Indigenous gatherings in Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory, and the voice will loom large. It was the PM's appearance at last year's Garma Festival, which marked the first in a series of mistakes with the voice. Anthony Albanese's first mistake was announcing a draft set of words for a proposed constitutional change last year at Garma.
We are seeking to secure support for the question and the associated provisions in time for a successful referendum in this term of Parliament.
He got a big round of applause at the festival, but behind the scenes, others were shocked because the PM had made a captain's call. Anthony Albanese had handpicked one of 18 proposals that had been offered up years earlier. He said the words, copied nearly word for word from Megan Davis and Noel Pearson, were not set in concrete.
A straightforward proposition, a simple principle, a question from the heart.
But the proposition wasn't straightforward, and nor was it simple. Immediately, legal experts had concerns because Noel and Megan's proposal would see the voice advising the Parliament and the executive government. And former High Court Judge Ian Callanan warned this could lead to High Court challenges. That brings me to the PM's second mistake. Anthony Albanese went to Garma without getting legal advice beforehand from the Attorney General's Department. That fact came out in Senate estimates through the head of the Office of Constitutional Law within the AG's department.
But there was no advice provided by the Attorney General's Department with respect to the draft words, albeit for discussion, to be added to the Constitution that were announced by the Prime Minister on 29 July.
That's correct.
That's correct.
It was Liberal Senator Paul Scar who stumbled upon the lack of legal advice.
I'm absolutely staggered. I'm gobsmacked, to be frank, that the advice of the Attorney General's Department was not considered, was not asked for prior to the announcement of those draft words.
And it got worse when the PM admitted he did not get an opinion from the person responsible for giving the government legal advice. So you got legal advice from the Solicitor General?
No.
When the PM's office prepared a transcript of that interview, they deleted the word no. 2 days after it became clear that the PM didn't get appropriate legal advice, Anthony Albanese received a letter from the Indigenous rights campaigner Father Frank Brennan. And that brings us to the PM's third mistake. Anthony Albanese ignored a written warning from his friend Father Frank. It said, now is the time to set up a parliamentary committee. You see, this would have maximised the chances of others being invested and included. But the committee the PM was advised to set up now would not be established for nearly another 6 months. By the time he did set it up, Anthony Albanese had already locked in his set of words for the referendum. So the committee was a waste of time because the PM had already made up his mind. And one who appeared before the committee was Yes campaigner and constitutional law expert Greg Craven.
And I can tell you that if there had been constitutional conservatives in that room, one constitutional conservative, it would never have emerged in that form.
Another Yes campaigner who was part of the committee, Senator Andrew Bragg, described the process as a joke. Those three key mistakes allowed the rot to set in. And there have been many, many more. We've had disagreements within the Yes camp about what the voice can and cannot do. The Attorney General tried to strike a compromise over the wording, but he was rejected by Megan Davis and Noel Pearson. Some members of the Yes camp started calling people racists and rednecks and chicken littles because they voiced concerns. Videos were unearthed of voice architects Thomas Mayo and Tila Reid talking about tearing down institutions and paying the rent. The PM has had a bet each way on the issue of treaty, saying one thing one moment and the opposite the next. And then you've got the Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney struggling through every question time, reading uninspiring answers from a cheat sheet. And then there's the rest of us who are just exhausted. We'll see what the Prime Minister has to say at Garma this weekend. It was expected that he would announce the date of the referendum, but he said that that won't be happening this weekend.